$600,000 contingency fund, we allowed the teeter plan to creep up $1 million, and that was actually my idea. That I said, why don't we take $1 million of the teeter fund and put it toward the balance in the budget, and that's what we used last year. So you could argue that we have a better strategy in a budget is just a plan. I mean, there's going to be changes throughout the year. There's going to be a little bit of revenue income. There's going to be some hits that we're going to take. But this is a spending plan that although not perfect, I agree upon. You know, one of the biggest emphases last year was in relation to the sheriff's budget. We assigned the sheriff department and the jail a budget, and then said, well, if you have a problem, we're going to commit it to $500,000 contingency, which we actually did put in the budget. But this year, you know, it's more important for not just the sheriff and the jail, for all departments to be under the budget, because there is no contingency. Well, actually, there's a $429 contingency with starting out with. So, you know, that buffer isn't there. So it's really important for our CEO staff and all departments to make sure that they're within their operating capital, because we don't have it. And if we do have revenues, part of the motion last week was to make sure that those revenues go back into the general reserve. Yeah. So, you know, today is just kind of a formality. We can go back. This budget process is turning into a year-round process. It used to be, when I was on the board before, you had about a week long in August. But what with all these changes at the state level coming up, and what's going to come up, and how we're going to have to be on this budget, and the CEO's office is going to have to be on it basically weekly and monthly, and hopefully that we'll, if I'm elected chairman next year, we're going to have at least 2, if not more, budget reviews to where we can kind of try to stay ahead of the game. But Mr. Chairman, to move this along, I would make a motion to adopt item 5.9.
Okay, there is a motion. Would you like comment before I ask for a second, or after? Okay, call for the second. Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion to approve item 5.9, adoption of the final budget for fiscal year 08-09? Okay, I'll hand the gavel off to Chairman Pro Tem Delbar, and I'll second the motion.
Discussion to the motion, Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Supervisor Delbar. I was going to comment before the chair asked for a second, and my comments are the same. Ms. Glasser, you call it an honest budget, and I've got to say it's, to me, anything but, which is why I voted no before, and I'm going to vote no again. The idea that it's an honest budget, to me, is appalling. I think it's as far from honest as you can get. I think you've done great work working on this budget and previous budgets. You've spent hours, I'm sure more than any other individual, certainly including myself, on trying to get it done. But when the teeter plan has gone from, I think at the beginning of your tenure there, from 7 million, I think somewhere 6.5, 7.5, somewhere in there, to over 11, we are not getting hold of a very, very important liability for the county. You've done your due diligence to try to shine the light of day on that. And certainly it was obscured, I think, even from you for a good period of time about specifically what that fund was, where the revenues went, what the interest, all of those components were you worked very hard to shine the light of day on that. But having said that, that doesn't mean just because the light of day is on it is that we're dealing with it. And I think that it is so bare bones with respect to the contingencies and the other issues that, and several unknowns, that I just don't think it's a responsible path to go down, which is why I voted no. But I just couldn't resist commenting on this aspect of it being an honest budget, because I think it's misleading to call it that. I think it's being balanced, as Supervisor Colfax said, in a similar manner, that the state is doing all kinds of convoluted things to come up with the bottom line that says we're there. And when we don't have vehicle replacement funds of any to any degree, when we don't fund our technology at all. When we have no contingencies, we're not building reserves. We have questions about the sheriff's budget. Does the sheriff really have the adequate resources to run his department, yes or no? On some unknowns there. We never got to some bottom line discussions along those lines. I think clearly, and the concerns I had before, that we really haven't done our due diligence with respect to both the cost containment, but also the revenue side. Absolutely going after the revenue sources that are there, and maybe we're not tapped into to do sort of work on both sides of the equation. So I'm, as previously stated, not supporting the approval.
Any other comments to the motion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll give this back to you, but if there's issues on this budget that are new amongst somebody, then they should have been brought up before. To do this at this point in time, I think, is irresponsible.
Thank you, Supervisor. To the clerk, comment?
Just for the record, the motion fails with Supervisors Delbar, Smith, and Colfax dissenting.
Okay. To Madam Counsel,